think that it can sometimes be challenging to know how to broach the conversation of finances in a relationship that isn't marriage.
Yeah, it's kind of almost taboo or
So,
weird
but
to talk
I think
about.
it's an important conversation to have. I remember reading something once that said money is one of the top 3 reasons that marriages break apart.
Yeah.
So conflict surrounding finances and money. And so we want to give you some questions that help you broach that conversation and get into the nitty gritty with your significant other about money.
Before we get into the questions, I do want to say these won't be questions like, what are your assets? How much do you have saved? They're more detailed and nuanced questions that maybe you wouldn't think of off the top of your head.
Yeah, so it'll help you get a sense of their spending tendencies, how they budget, their values when it comes to money. But let's get right into them. The first question is, what do you splurge on? And I like asking that question because you get a sense of what someone's willing to spend a disproportionate amount of money on, whether it be clothes or experiences or sentimental gifts. You get a sense of what they value exponentially more than everything else.
Yeah, and you get a sense of how do you fit into that equation.
Yeah.
Do you, like, for example, if someone said, oh, when I go on vacation, I go all out. I go to the best restaurants, I get the best hotels, but maybe you're the type of person who likes to go backpacking and stay in hostels. Those are two completely different vacations,
100%.
which is fine, but you guys both have to be like, okay, are we okay with the way we spend our money in this way?
100%.
The second question is, what does budgeting look like for you?
Yeah, I think this gives you a good sense of how someone manages money more generally, their philosophy on budgeting, whether budgeting is of high importance, of low importance. The one thing I will say to those who are organized and very budget friendly out there is just because someone doesn't budget doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing. That could just be something that they're not skilled in, and they might say, oh, but if you want to budget, I would love that. And so they might say, oh, to be honest, my budget is just don't spend, except for in the case of necessities. And so, but I'm really warm to a budget. So that, I wouldn't necessarily say if someone doesn't have a budget, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think you have to take into account a little bit stages of life people are in. Like, our knowledge of finances now compared to when we were 20, completely different, and that's less than a decade of time. And so people are typically, I feel like as you get older, you learn more, especially about finances and what to do with your finances. So if you're meeting someone and they're in their young 20s,
100%,
they might not be there yet with their knowledge.
The third question is, what causes you to break your money rules? And so whether it be because of family emergency, or maybe it's just like a really good deal at Target, or whatever it may be, there are some things that cause people to break their money rules. And you just want to learn about the things that they would say, oh, this trumps budget, or this breaks my rules a bit because of my value for family, or because of my value for a deal. Someone might see, for example, a comforter set that wasn't in the budget, but they know, oh, within the next year, I'm going to buy a comforter set, so I may as well buy for $50 now instead of $150 next year when it's not on sale anymore. And that might make sense, but the goal is not, again, finding a right or a wrong, but it's whether their right lines up with your right, and whether those disagreements are deal breakers or not.
Yeah, that's so good. The fourth one is, what was normal in your family? We're shaped by what we've seen. So you want to get a sense of what type of an environment this person grew up in terms of finances. For me, growing up, money was often tight. So I'm often not quick to spend my money, even if it's something I really need or have been thinking about for a long time. It can be just hard for me to actually make the move to spend that money. So I always almost lean towards a saving mindset.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think sometimes what you've seen also informs your values. Like, for example, as kids, we didn't spend a lot of money on gifts because my parents wanted to save so that we can allocate money towards experiences so that we can build these shared memories as a family. And I realized that that's like shaped how I view spending. Like, we don't even get each other gifts. And because we want to pour that money into experiences. And I believe that's in part me growing up in an environment where gifts weren't crazy normalized, and you also not being a crazy high gifts person. You'd rather experiences as well. And so that informs how we kind of develop our own family and
Yeah.
operate within marriage as well.
And sometimes people don't copy what their families do. They sometimes might be reacting to how they grew up.
Yeah.
So maybe they grew up in a family who couldn't afford nice things. So as an adult, they want all the nice things.
Yeah.
And so as soon as they could have the money, they'll spend it. So everyone kind of functions differently, and it's just important to talk about it.
So it's important to hear what was normative in their family background and how they respond to it or how they see it. So whether it be frugal or super liberal in how they spend, and then how do they respond to the reality that they grew up and saw.
The fifth one is, what salary expectations do you have for us?
And I think this works in the present, but also in the future. Like, what are you thinking that I'm coming into this marriage with in terms of salary? Maybe you're a dating couple that's super comfortable talking about finances, and maybe you're not. And so this could be a really easy kind of softball question, or it could be a really hard and intimate question.
Yeah.
But it's important to, at some point, as you're pursuing marriage, to ask those questions, because soon your money is going to be shared in one way or another, whether even if you have separate accounts.
You should probably know the money the other person's bringing to the table.
So that you guys can plan together. You can mark out financial goals together, whether it be buying a house, kids, RESPs, et cetera. And for this, I think it's also important for people to talk about salary expectations for the future. Someone might be fresh out of university and be making, I don't know, $50K a year, but their hope is that by the time they're 30, in, 7 or 8 years, they're making $150K a year. And they're hoping that you're matching that. And you're able to have that conversation as to whether you picture that for yourself as well, or whether there's misalignment seen in the pictures you both hold for the future.
A place we're coming from is we really value transparency in our relationship, and we think that is a value that all relationships should hold. And so this is a moment to really be transparent with your significant other about your expectations for the future. If you're trying to kind of like bend and shape what you actually think, you might have problems down the road
100%.
because your expectations won't be met. So now's the time to just be honest, be transparent, and be real with what you're expecting your future to look like.
And I don't think you need to be like throwing out your current salary on your first date. But again, this is within the context of preparing for marriage. This person you believe you're going to spend the rest of your life with. I think that's when you start broaching conversations like these. Sixth question is, what kind of retirement do you picture? And I think that with this, it's like quality of life. It's like, what do we want to have saved by retirement? And then it's like, do you want to retire or not? Like, how do you relate with work? There's some people who love working and they can't envision freedom meaning retirement, but freedom meaning I'm still working, but my work comes with the ability to choose my times when I work.
And some people picture retirement laying on a beach and just soaking up the rest. And that's completely different. And so you want to make sure this is something you want to be aligned on, I think.
So it's like, whether you want to be retired or not, is there a certain money target that we want to hit before we retire? And the last one is like your quality of life, or the kind of retirement you picture for yourself.
Okay, the seventh one is, what quality of life do you envision for yourself pre-retirement and post-retirement? This is good to know, because the state you guys meet yourselves in might not be the state you're envisioning and dreaming for 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now.
And I think that a sweet consideration is that someone might picture a more lavish post-retirement life than they do pre-retirement, in the name of being able to retire early, for example, or just in general. Someone might go, oh, my 40s, 50s, 60s are for grinding until I hit 65. 65, I want to be vacationing. I want to be living wherever I want. I think another thing is like, someone might go, I want to retire when I'm 50. So I'm going to make all the sacrifices I need to from 20, 25, or 30 until 50 so I can retire when I'm 50. And so it's so important for you to talk about expectations about that, so that if you're saying, oh, we're going to live on mac and cheese until we're 50, and I'm saying, no, we're having caviar every other day until we're 50, we're able to like really check that discrepancy so that we're pursuing life in a way that lines up pre-retirement and then also post-retirement in a way that works for both of us.
Totally. The 8th question is, what percentage of income do you see yourself saving every year?
Yeah.
So say you make $70K a year, say combined you guys make $200K a year, whatever it is, what percentage of that yearly income do you see yourself putting away?
Yeah.
I think couched within these questions is like, do you have certain goals for yourself in your mind? Like, do you think in your head like, oh, by the time I'm 40, I want to be a millionaire?
Yeah.
Because this is the time to say it, because you want to know those goals. Or by the time I'm 30, I want to own a house, because those financial goals really dictate how you're living your life day to day.
100%. And obviously this changes if you're meeting someone in your 40s. Then you just adjust the question to make sure that it's conducive to your stage of life. But the thing we're trying to hammer home is just like communicating in the area of some of these harder questions, so that no one, when you hit that milestone of marriage, is surprised.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that there are always gonna be things that are like subtle, that are even like, maybe there might be things about one part of the relationship, like one person in the relationship, that you're like, oh, I didn't even think to communicate that. But it's like, there's always gonna be an element of surprise as you get to know each other in marriage.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to help couples do is mitigate the elements of surprise.
Yeah.
So there's less and less surprise the more you communicate.
And also, for example, if one of you had a goal that you really wanted to buy a house before 30, but never communicated it, you turn 30 and all of a sudden you're having all these feelings of disappointment and just not happy maybe with where your situation is. If your spouse never knew that, then they don't know how to help walk you through that. But if they know that's a goal, then you guys can help walk each other through that together.
That's really good. The 9th question is there anything on your budget that you would not be okay with minimizing or removing from your budget? So we're not talking about rent. We're not talking about home insurance, like things that are like fixed expenses. We're more talking about the variable expenses that maybe aren't as necessary. Like you'd want to pay attention to if, for example, you would say, oh, I really couldn't minimize or take off how much I spent on video games or nails or shoes. And I think that if you, as the asker, for example, have any flags about what they say in response to that, it's important to like be curious about that and see if you can either, one, understand where they're coming from, or two, whether you can get to a place of compromise where you're like, oh, that makes sense as something you'd want to leave on your budget.
Yeah, and really pay attention to it, because I think when you're dating, you're like, that's something I can get over. But really envision your life, like week after week or month after month, these expenses are going out your bank account that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
That's going to weigh on a person after a while. And so you really want to make sure that you're both okay with the things you guys splurge on.
Yeah, and this is really trying to target inconsistencies in financial values. So you just want to make sure to ask this question so that if there's anything that they consider like untouchable, but you're like, oh, I don't see that as necessary, that you're able to iron that out.
All right, the last question is there anything you foresee adding to your budget as you get older? These are things like something that comes to mind could be like car payments. I feel like as people get older, they might desire a nicer car.
Botox.
Could be Botox or cosmetic things that maybe as you get older, you just want to, change up how you look, keep that young, youthful glow. I don't know. This could be things like specialized healthcare, and by that I kind of mean like chiropractor, acupuncture,
physio,
like those kind
totally.
of more niche things that as you get older you might desire more appointments with those professionals. So it just helps you get a sense of like, again, the life they're envisioning in the future.
Yeah, so none of these questions should expose these crazy, surprising deal breakers. Again, at the point where you're having a conversation like this, you've known this person for a while. So you actually should have a pretty good indication of what they value, what they spend on, what they save on. But it is meant to facilitate conversation. Our hope is that more and more people would be able to have some of these conversations pre-marriage to mitigate conflict within marriage. And we had a lot of these kind of back and forth about what we love to spend on, what we don't love to spend on. And we were able to come to a place where I was able to compromise and you were able to compromise in a way that was able to kind of form like a shared value system when it comes to spending.
And these are things also that could change over time. As you guys grow and learn together, maybe your values will change in terms of finances, but it's a good way to get the ball rolling in terms of knowing what you think and where you're at right now, and then keeping that conversation going in the years to come.
Yeah. It's good. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you think that one of these videos might serve someone in your life, make sure to share it with them because it'd be a huge help for us. It'd be a help to them as well.
If you liked this video on finances, make sure to watch this video next. And with that, we'll see you next week.